I'm Caitlin.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Did you find the place okay?
I did.
Okay, I know it can get tricky with the back lot and everything.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I want to first thank you for coming in today. I know that can be a difficult thing to do. So I'll just start by giving you a little bit of background about myself. So I'm currently a student at the Chicago School of Professional Psychology. I'm studying to get my master's degree in counseling psychology. So what that really means is I'm not licensed yet, but I am supervised directly by a licensed psychologist. So I work with her to kind of consult on our cases and make sure that I'm really providing you with the best services possible. A couple of housekeeping things to get into before we really dive into what brought you in today. I know in the lobby they had you fill out an informed consent form, but I do want to kind of go over that with you verbally just in case you have any questions for me.
Okay.
So everything we talk about in this room is going to stay between you and I. There are a couple of exceptions to that. So as I mentioned, my supervisor, her and I consult on all of my cases, and it's more just to make sure that I am providing you, like I said, with the best services that I can. So I will be sharing some details about what we talk about with her, but outside of that, it will stay between her and I.
Okay.
In addition to that, if I hear anything about intention to harm yourself or others, I do need to report that, as well as any evidence of elder or child abuse.
Okay.
Does that all make sense?
Totally.
Awesome. So the other thing that I want to take care of before we get started, I am going to be filming today's session. It's just going to stay between my supervisor and I, and really she's more looking at what I'm doing and the services that I'm providing to you to make sure that I'm competent.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could just please sign this form for me.
Yeah.
There's a couple of initial spots as well.
What's today's date?
It is, I believe, the 9th. The 9th.
Thank you.
No, I can never remember.
There you go.
Thank you. Okay, wonderful. So, as we kind of dive in and get started, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions that they may seem silly, but I promise I ask all of my new patients, and it's really just to kind of make sure that we're on the same page and that you're here and that you're present.
Okay.
So can you tell me what year it is?
2018.
Perfect. And what is today's date?
The 9th.
Perfect. What season would you say it is?
It is fall, but it is snowing.
It is snowing, the first one. Great. And then what building are we in?
The Merchandise Mart.
Okay. And what floor?
4.
Perfect. What city and state are we in?
Chicago, Illinois.
Perfect. I'm going to give you 3 objects.
Okay.
And then I'm just going to have you repeat them back to me.
Okay.
So spoon, box, car.
Okay. Do you want me to repeat
Yes,
them now?
sorry.
Oh. Spoon, box, car.
Perfect. And now I'm going to have you count backward from 100 by 5s.
100, 95, 90, 85, 80, 75, 70, 65, 60. Keep going.
Yep.
65, 60, 55, 50.
Perfect. You can stop. Beautiful. I know that can get tricky going backwards.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I'm going to also have you spell the word world backwards.
DLROW.
Perfect. Okay, and then going back, do you remember the 3 objects that I told you a couple minutes ago?
Spoon, box. I don't remember the third
Car.
one. Car.
Close enough. That was close enough. And then can you name an animal? Any animal?
A dog.
Perfect. And a candy bar?
A Snickers.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Repeat the following sentence. No ifs, ands, or buts.
No ifs, ands, or buts.
Wonderful. Now if you could just take this sheet of paper,
Mhm.
I'm going to have you fold it in half.
Okay.
I'll have you fold it in half again. And then just go ahead and set it on the ground. Great. Okay, we are almost done, I promise.
No worries.
I'm going to have you read this command out loud and then follow the command.
Okay. It says close our eyes.
Perfect. Wonderful. And then the last thing I'm going to have you do is just go ahead and write any complete sentence that you'd like.
Okay.
Perfect. It is snowing.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Great. Well, then, now that we got that out of the way, again, I know it's a little bit tedious, but
No
I appreciate
worries.
your patience. I would love to kind of dive into what brought you in today.
Yeah. So my parents kind of forced me into coming here. My boyfriend was shot and killed as we were walking down the street together about 3 months ago, and I just am still really struggling with it, and we don't know if it's normal grief or something else. So I just kind of wanted to come in here and talk to you about like kind of what's been going on,
Absolutely.
to hopefully start feeling better.
That's really tough. So thank you again for coming in today. I know it's a scary step to take,
Mhm.
but I'm glad you're here, and I think that hopefully we can talk through some of that today.
Yeah.
I do want to dive deeper into that incident and maybe how you've been feeling since.
Mhm.
But I also think it would be helpful for me to kind of gather some information about yourself, just some background info.
Yeah.
So were you born in Chicago? Or are you from?
I was born in Ohio
Okay, and then when did you move to Chicago?
about 6 years ago.
Okay, gotcha. And how has your relationship with your family been growing up? What has that been like?
I feel like we had a pretty close relationship. I was definitely closer with my family than my brothers. Closer with my parents. We kind of like ebb and flow. There's times when we like really get along, and then there's times when like we don't as much.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we're like really getting along. They're kind of being overbearing a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but like trying to take care of me after everything that happened.
Sure. Do you think that overbearingness kind of came with this trauma that you experienced? Like they're being more protective of you?
I think so. I think they've always kind of been a little like overprotective and just kind of like helicopter parents, but like
Sure.
definitely right now.
Yeah, definitely. And what would you say is like your ethnic background and identity?
I'm just like a basic white girl.
You're not basic.
I mean, give me a pumpkin spice latte.
Okay. Wonderful. Okay. And do your parents live in Chicago as well, or are they
still live in Ohio?
Okay, gotcha. Have they been more present since the?
Yeah,
the
they've
incident?
kind of been like taking off staying with me in the past couple months.
Okay. And how has your relationship with your brothers been since the incident?
They've like definitely called to check in, but like they're so busy that they don't really like get involved in anyone's lives but their own.
Okay. And where do you fall? I'm just curious.
I'm the oldest.
Okay.
And then they're both younger.
Okay, so two younger brothers. Okay, very nice. And do you have roommates here?
No, I live by myself.
Okay. Have you always lived by yourself in Chicago?
No, I had a roommate a little bit ago, but and then I moved out by myself, and I just can't imagine ever.
Okay, it was just time to kind of be in.
Cut the cord.
Sure.
Yeah.
I get it. Do you guys still have a relationship, or were you friends?
No, we like had a big falling out.
Oh no! What was the? Can you tell me a little bit more?
It was about a
that?
boy. I didn't like her boyfriend, and so they had like broken up at the time because he was like talking to other girls, and I had like commented about it, and kind of just was like, he's terrible, blah 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 blah, and then they got back together, and she didn't want to hear what I had to say.
Sure, that's tough.
Yeah,
that's really tough. Do you have a lot of other friends here in the city, or?
Yeah, I think I'm like getting to the point where they're kind of starting to move all away. Everyone was here for a while, and then now kind of people are like spreading their wings a little bit more. But I do have a really good core group of friends here.
Okay. And do you see and kind of hang out with them a lot?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you found it to be helpful to hang out with them, especially since this incident?
Yes and no. Like, yes, it's nice to have people around, but now I'm also so scared all the time that something's going to happen to somebody that I'm with. So it's kind of hard for me to like go out and about with them. I feel uncomfortable, like something might happen to them too. So if we're like at someone's house, it's okay, but I don't really like being out in public necessarily with them.
That's understandable. very new still.
Yeah.
So I could definitely see that. Have they been pretty understanding?
They're trying. I just feel like no one understands and like no one gets it. Nobody's really like lost someone that I'm friends with in this capacity, and nobody's like really been in a violent situation before. So it's hard because I know they want to help and I know they want to like be supportive, but it just doesn't feel supportive.
Sure. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about that day.
That day.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really remember a lot of it. What I remember is basically what people tell me. And like I'll have like images of it, but I can't really like remember the exact event. But we were just shopping and walking down Michigan, and all of a sudden some guy just like ran up and like shot him, and then just kept running. And then I like fell to the ground too, like with him, and like there was just blood everywhere, and I didn't know what to do, and I was covered in blood. Like I didn't know if I had been shot too. And then all these people came over, or the police came, and that's all I kind of really remember.
And that's very normal. You know, when a traumatic experience like that happens, it's normal to kind of have lapses in memory and things like that. So I'm sorry that you had to experience that. It sounds very frightening.
Yeah.
So do these kind of upsetting memories, would you say that they kind of are popping into your head?
Yeah, I feel like I can't stop thinking about it. It's just like this like movie that keeps playing in my head, just kind of like the sequence of like him running up, shooting the gun, and then just like us both falling. Like it just keeps going. And I can't really get it out of my head. I have dreams about it too. So it's not just like these ruminating thoughts, it's also like when I'm sleeping.
Okay. Tell me more about the dreams.
They're pretty similar. Sometimes I dream that like the events changed, or he shot me, or that we lived, but it's all the same scenario. And I just wake up in like cold sweats and like heavy breathing. Sometimes I'm screaming.
Yeah. That's so has that disrupted your ability to get a good night's sleep?
Yeah, I really within like the last couple of months I really haven't been sleeping. I would say like on average maybe 3 hours of solid sleep, and then it's like off and on.
Yeah. And prior to the incident, was your sleep
I love to
normal?
sleep. Yeah, I got a solid 8 hours every night.
Yeah.
I've never really like dreamed before, so it's like all new.
Okay. Do you have difficulty falling asleep, or is it okay once you do fall asleep you just have these terrible?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both, because I'm like also scared to go to sleep now, but I'm also having these thoughts go on in my head that like I just can't shut off.
Yeah.
So it's like getting those to quiet down, and then knowing that like stuff will still happen while I'm sleeping.
That's frightening.
Yeah.
Some people who experience trauma, and I know you said you do kind of frequently have it plays back in your head over and over, but for some people it becomes a very vivid flashback to where it almost feels like they're reliving the trauma. Would you say that that's how your flashbacks are, or is it more just kind of reflecting on what happened?
I definitely feel like I'm reliving it, and like I don't really leave my house anymore, and I like walk down the street because I'm so paranoid and afraid that it's like gonna happen again. I just like don't trust anyone, and it feels so real all the time anyways that like why put myself in that situation. So
leaving the house has kind of become a difficult thing for you since. Okay. And in what situations are you able to leave the house?
Usually if I'm with someone else, that kind of goes like both ways though. Like it makes me really nervous for them, but it also like is comforting. And if I know there's not going to be like any walking down the street, like if the car's right outside, we jump in an Uber, I get out and it's fine. And especially if I know I'm just going to like someone's house rather than like a public place where someone else could like be, that feels a little safer. So
you're avoiding the environment of walking down the street, which was kind of the setting for this terrible thing that happened.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. And I know that you said these nightmares will kind of make you wake up in sweats.
Mhm.
You are sometimes screaming. Your heart rate's up. When you're awake and you think of these memories,
Mhm.
do you have any physical reactions to it?
Sometimes I shake, and sometimes like I'll get sweaty. And then I'll also like start hyperventilating if it gets to be like really bad.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't happen all the time, but it definitely happens pretty frequently.
Okay. And is there anything that kind of, you said it's pretty constant, these
Mhm.
thoughts, but is there anything that triggers it more than others?
Sometimes like if I see a gun on TV, like that will really trigger it. If I am just feeling more overwhelmed that day, if people want to talk about it a lot, sometimes I feel like that doesn't help, and I just get really angry at them because I feel like they're bringing up all of these feelings and memories in me. I think that's when it's like triggered the most.
Okay. So you don't like talking about what happened?
Mm-mm.
Well, then I absolutely commend you for coming in and being so open with me. This is, it's helpful for me as well.
I just want to stop feeling like this.
I totally understand. And I know that you said that you kind of have some lapses in memory from that day, which, like I said, is very normal. Leading up to the event, I guess the weeks leading up to it, even the days leading up to it, do you remember a lot about your relationship with, what was your boyfriend's name?
Mike.
Do you remember a lot about your...
Well, we had like just recently got engaged, so we are kind of celebrating that. We, we're talking about moving in together, like all of the things, starting to think about planning a wedding. We had been spending like a lot of time together, but like nothing out of the ordinary. It was just like a normal weeks, normal life.
Yeah. Do you find that looking back on those moments leading up to this tragic day, do you find that to be helpful, or does it hurt more to think about?
It definitely is nice to think of him, but it hurts because he's not here, and it's just like the life that we could have had, my partner that I could have had, is like everything's just gone. My whole life has changed.
Yeah.
And I feel like very selfish making that about me, but I don't know, like I don't know what else to do.
I don't think, first of all, I don't think it's selfish. This is something that was very terrible that happened to you, and I think from what I see, you're handling it in a very strong way.
Thank you.
So something that I've seen with a lot of my clients who've experienced traumas is they tend to kind of take on this negative view, sometimes of themselves, sometimes of others, sometimes of the world in general. Would you say that this is true for you?
I would say all of the above. Yeah, I feel like I don't know why I lived, like, and he didn't, like, why, like, I don't feel worthy enough to live. I'm also very scared of other people now because you just don't know what other people are thinking, and then just like the world is just so unsafe. Like that just happened to us like a couple months ago. There was a shooting last weekend. Like I read some stat that there's like shootings like almost every day of the year this year. So I don't know how to be positive about it anymore. Like when it has directly affected me. I don't know.
That makes sense. And I know you said something about you don't feel like worthy to live.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, do you feel a certain level of guilt?
Yeah, definitely. Like I don't know why I was chosen, I don't know if that's the right word, to live. I also don't feel like I should have saved him in some aspect. Like I should have done more to save him, whether that's like, I don't think that's true. There's really nothing I could, but it's like this irrational thing that I should have like jumped in front of him, or like I should have somehow like helped him more when, after he was shot and like saved his life. I don't necessarily think those are realistic, but I definitely have this like immense guilt about it.
And I think that that's normal, to kind of think, what could I have done differently? But I am hearing a very irrational side of you that says, I know there was nothing I could have done differently. So I am glad to hear that, because in reality there isn't.
Yeah, I just feel like there is.
Do you blame anyone else, obviously, I'm sure, besides the gunman?
No, I don't think I blame anyone else. it's kind of hard. There's like nobody really to blame. Maybe like his parents or like the people he was around for like not realizing that he was like capable of that.
Yeah.
But I don't really have any blame other than like him and like I said, like myself a little bit.
Yeah. And I kind of want to touch on. So, do you know anything about? Was he caught? Was he?
He was caught. They found him on surveillance video and arrested him, and he denies that he did it.
Okay.
And so like I am gonna have to like go through the experience of a trial soon since I am like a witness. I can't even imagine that, but I am going to have to face him for that.
And when is that?
They don't know yet. They're still like in the process of gathering evidence, but I would assume sometime in like the next year or so.
Yeah. And how, when you kind of picture yourself going through that, going through the trial, going up to the witness stand, how does that make you feel?
Terrible. I feel like very small. Like I'll just kind of like imagine something just like shrinking. Like that's kind of how I feel. I'm very scared I won't be able to handle it and will just be like super emotional. I think I'm also very scared that he will be able to do something. Like maybe he would like pull out a gun in the courtroom too, or somebody else would. So I'm nervous about that too, and just having to be up in front of everyone and just I didn't choose any of this, and I just feel like then I'm gonna have to kind of be like put in the spotlight. And I don't want to.
And kind of having to relive it publicly. I'm sure that, that might be giving you some anxiety as well.
Yeah, and like, I mean, he'll be there. So it is basically like we're all reliving it together. Like all the major players except Mike will be there. So.
Are you close with Mike's family?
I am. But lately, like I said, they just don't understand, and it's so hard to be around them because they remind me of him, and like they want answers and information and to like talk about it, and I don't. So I get angry at them sometimes, and I just really pushed away from them because it's just too hard. Same with like his friends.
Yeah, I could see that. Of course, they have all lost someone who was very important to them, but so have you. On top of having to be there when it happened.
Yeah.
So it's not something I'm sure that you want to relive or give many details about over and over and over.
Right.
I understand that. Well, I think that this and us talking and us, working through some things leading up to the trial will be really helpful in, being able to get up there. And it's, I'm sure it's not going to be easy, but I think this is great practice, walking through and kind of becoming comfortable with those uncomfortable thoughts.
Yeah.
It's great. So since the incident, you said how long ago was that?
3 months.
3 months ago. Since the incident, have you noticed yourself feeling like chronically fearful or angry or?
Yeah, both. I'm so fearful. I work in a school. I'm a teacher, and I can't work anymore because I'm so afraid that a school shooter is going to come through. I don't have like the mental capacity right now to kind of be there for the kids or to like focus on them. I'm just so focused in my own head. And I'm not really like I said, leaving the house, hanging out with my friends. Like everything is just those feelings of fear and guilt are just too overwhelming.
Okay. And so are you working right now?
No.
Okay.
I took a leave of absence.
And was your school understanding?
They were. It's hard because it's like the middle of the school year, so I kind of feel bad because I left them in a hard spot. And they have to kind of like decide if they're just going to have normal subs or like a long-term sub because they don't know how long I'll be out. But they understand the situation. It's been difficult.
Well, and you have to, I don't want you to feel guilty about leaving the kids without a sub or anything like that, because if you were there, you could have been there, but you wouldn't have been there.
Right.
You needed to kind of take a step away and give yourself the time, and it's all very new still. So
yeah,
I don't want you to blame yourself at all. So one thing that I also heard was you haven't been going out with friends as much. So is there anything else that you used to like to do that you've kind of lost interest in?
Pretty much everything. Like, I really just, like I said, I can't watch TV, like, I can't do anything, so I really just, like, lay around all day. My mom and dad, like I said, they switch off, like, living with me, and they try to get me to do things, but, like, I can't do it. I can't, like, pull myself together enough or overcome the fear. So I kind of just sit with my thoughts all day. I don't really do any activities.
Okay. Was there anything like reading or even watching Netflix or any kind of hobbies like that that you have liked in the past?
Yeah, so I love reading. I haven't really been reading. My mom's bought me like a million self-help books. They're not helpful. I can't focus enough to read them. Sometimes I'll watch like mindless TV, but then I usually just end up like falling asleep. And it really just doesn't like get the things out of my head, or really make me feel better. So I just kind of like to sit there.
And do you feel like you've been able in the past 3 months to feel any moments of normalcy or happiness, or maybe you forget about it for a couple of minutes?
I would say like not for minutes, but there's like seconds where I'm like, oh, and then it goes away. And then I feel like when I do get those like couple seconds of like normalcy, I have really bad guilt. Like, how can I feel normal when like he's not here? And how can I feel normal when this terrible thing happened? And I kind of like punish myself a little bit so I don't feel that way, because I feel like I don't deserve it. Like I said, because I feel like I don't deserve to live. I don't feel like I did enough to save him. I don't. Yeah.
In those moments of happiness, what are you doing when you find those? Are you with friends? Are you with your parents? Are you?
Yeah, I'm usually with my friends over my parents, and we'll kind of be talking about something that has nothing to do with what happened to me, and maybe it's like talking about like what's going on in their life, and that's helpful. But then I kind of selfishly like go back in my head to me like, oh, well, how can they be living a normal life when Mike's not here, and how can they just do that? And then at the same time wishing that I could do that too, and then kind of beating myself up for even wanting that. So it's just all kind of there.
And what I'm hearing is just like this struggle, because when you're feeling bad, you're feeling bad, and when you're not feeling bad, you're feeling guilty about not feeling bad.
Yeah,
that's tough. Do you ever feel kind of just numb, or is it kind of this, you either feel good or you either feel bad?
I do feel numb. Like when I'm just kind of like laying there and like it's not in my head, I'm just, that's it.
Yeah.
Like if there's ever a time where thoughts aren't in my head, then yeah, I'm just numb and just sitting there.
And have you been drinking alcohol or using any substances?
Nope. I have not. I have no desire to. I thought about, in the beginning, I was like trying to drink to kind of like numb it, or to even like go to sleep. But it really didn't help. It made it almost worse.
Okay.
And so I kind of just like don't do anything now.
Okay. That to me is a huge positive. A lot of people experience traumatic things and kind of resort to substances to kind of escape the feeling. So I'm proud of you for that. And I know one thing that you had touched on earlier was a lot of people around you kind of want answers. They want details about that day, his family, his friends. Do you find yourself losing your temper easily or getting easily irritated?
Yeah, especially when they're kind of like, like poking the bear. Like I just feel like they keep just asking and they want answers, and like I don't remember stuff, so I don't have the answers, and then I don't want to talk about it because it just is painful. And I also like sometimes feel like they feel like they wish I died instead of him. You know what I mean? Like, and maybe they're judging me for not doing enough too. I just feel like I don't know. I get angry because I don't like talking about it. They don't understand. I don't want to think about it.
I understand that. And luckily you're not resorting to substances, but have you engaged in any other kind of reckless or self-destructive behavior since the event?
Mm-mm.
Okay, that's good to hear. And then since the event, have you been hyper alert or kind of, I guess you could say, jumpy?
Hey, I was gonna do some work in this room. How long do you think you guys are gonna be?
We're filming a project. Do you think we could have like 15 or 20 minutes?
I can come in.
Thank you. Okay, so have you been kind of jumpy and easily startled, I guess?
Definitely. And I think that's
Yeah.
why I've been like avoiding going out really, because that just makes it so much worse.
Mm-hmm.
And I am scared of everything and everyone, especially people I don't know. So I'm just constantly like on alert.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I know you're kind of taking a break from the job,
Mm-hmm.
and luckily your family's kind of around to give you support. How are you spending your days and your time?
Really, like my mom will wake me up and like make me breakfast. They're kind of like forcing me to eat. And then she kind of like tries to drag me out of the house or like do an activity like at home.
Mm-hmm.
She'll like want to craft or something to like try to get my mind off of it. But I usually just end up kind of like laying on the couch.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really it. I'm so tired from not sleeping that I just don't also have the energy to do much. And I have a short temper, so like I feel like it's better to almost like not engage.
Okay. So really, you feel safe at home. That's kind of where you want to be, and you're kind
Mhm.
of sitting with your thoughts a lot. Okay. And I know that you are taking a break from your job. You're still trying to make time for friends and everything. But how would you say that this trauma has affected maybe other areas of your life that we haven't touched on?
Yeah. I feel like it's affected every area. I no longer have a relationship with my fiance. Like my friendships are kind of struggling, and the relationship with my parents I feel like is kind of strained as well. I'm not working. I'm not doing anything that I like to do. I'm not working out. I'm not cooking. I'm not gardening. And instead I'm just like laying around. Like it's just like not me. I also feel like I have like a lot of anger and sadness and guilt that are just really overwhelming that I've never really like sat with before. So it's hard for me to kind of take those on.
Mm-hmm. And so it sounds like those are scary emotions to explore on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps that's something we can kind of dive into as well.
Yeah.
So I just heard cooking, gardening, working out.
Yeah.
Were those things that you enjoyed to do before this happened?
They did. They were.
Okay.
I used to like do them every day. We had a little garden, or I had a little garden outside of. I do have a garden outside of my apartment, and I would grow vegetables that I would cook. It used to be something that my boyfriend / fiance and I used to do together, but now I don't. My mom has been trying to like keep up with it, but it's been really hard.
Yeah. So have you tried to do any of that since?
I've tried to like go out, but I also feel like very like I can't think of the word. Like just like out in the open, like something could happen while I'm
Like
out there.
vulnerable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely that's the word. That something could happen while I'm out there, and then like on top of it just being hard to be out there in general, it just isn't. It isn't worth it to me at this point.
It causes more anxiety.
Yeah, and I used to like to run, but like I don't want to run down the street anymore because who knows what could happen or who could be out there.
Exactly. And I know you said that talking with your friends sometimes when they're talking about their own lives, it can distract you for a minute and you feel okay. Are there any other moments that you found yourself feeling okay? And if so, what are you doing in those moments? Is it maybe watching a rom-com or?
Yeah. No, not really. Sometimes I'll watch like a cooking show,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes that's really like therapeutic, just because it's like repetitive. There's no emotion. There's just cooking.
Mm-hmm.
But that's really it. Like that's all that's on in my house. There's no violence in cooking. It's very safe. But it's hard because, like I said, that was something that we like to do together. So it is kind of brings up those memories a lot too.
Okay. So for you, maybe doing those activities that you guys used to do together can kind of just be another reminder that he's not there.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And how long were you guys dating?
Like 8 years.
8 years?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How did you meet?
In college.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where did you go to college?
Boston.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then you both made the transition to Chicago
Mm-hmm.
together. Very nice. So you didn't live together?
No, we haven't lived together. I was very adamant on waiting until I was engaged / married. It had always kind of been like, you know, a cause of tension because he wanted to. But I feel like I have kind of like old school values and just really wanted the ring. So we had been kind of looking lately since like we had gotten engaged, but nothing.
That's exciting.
Yeah, nothing came through.
And how present have his parents been since the whole?
They were really present at first. They were there like all the time, especially like around like the funeral and like all of that. They were here a lot. They had moved to Florida, so they were really only here that week. But they do like call and check in quite frequently.
That makes sense. So kind of bringing it back to, again, I'm so proud of you for being here and talking through all of this. If you were to kind of picture, if you could set a goal for how you're going to feel about everything at the end of therapy, what would that look like for you? What is your ideal and what are you kind of looking to find?
Yeah, I definitely want it to not be so prevalent in my head. I want to kind of like reduce this like guilt that I have, both in not doing enough and being able to move on, because I don't want to feel like this my entire life, and I want to get back to normal, but I feel like terrible saying that because he can't get back to normal, so I'm just kind of like struggling with that. And I want to feel safe in my world again, and I want to do the things that I like and enjoy, and still being like aware and obviously concerned that things could happen, but not kind of letting that rule me.
Exactly. So reduce your anxiety surrounding it, reduce the guilt that you feel, maybe be able to find pleasure in activities without feeling guilty about it, and finding the ability to walk down the street again and not feel so tense or jumpy or nervous. I think that those are all really, really good goals.
Yeah.
Is there anything else about the incident or about how you've been feeling since that you think we should talk about?
I would say that a couple things. So this is really, I don't necessarily know if I like believe in God, but it's definitely made me kind of like question the universe. Like, how could this happen? Like, what good is coming out of it? What is the point? What's the purpose? And just kind of questioning if there is some like higher power. I also have thought about going on meds again. So I was on meds in high school because I had really bad anxiety, and so I don't know if they might be helpful in this instance too. I'm not really sure like what's going on, but I know in the past they really kind of like helped quiet my mind, and I kind of am wanting that again.
And let's I kind of want to touch on that. So you said even way before this incident you kind of have had an anxious mind. Can you tell me more about that?
I think it kind of had to do with like perfectionism to some aspect. It was my junior year of college, /senior year of college, and I was really worried about getting in and making sure that I like had the grades and like I would get in. So I was just putting a lot of pressure on myself, and just it became really hard. And I would sometimes not be able to go to school because it would be so overwhelming, or like I sat for like my SATs, or and I had to leave because my head was hurting so bad. So that's where like the medication definitely like helped kind of like calm that down a little bit, so I was able to do the things that I needed to do. But I came off them like I would say like my freshman year of college. I was feeling a lot better, and just like I could kind of like manage life.
And when you went off of them, did you notice was it an easy adjustment, or was that tough?
Yeah, I feel like I was just like in a really good place then. I was making new friends. School was like fun and not very stressful. There wasn't a big like event or big amount of pressure for anything to happen, so it was kind of like just smooth sailing then.
So since the incident, you've been kind of wondering what it might be like to go back on some meds for a little while. And what were you taking, if you don't mind me asking?
It was some type of like anti-anxiety medication. I don't really remember what it was called.
No problem. I was just curious. Yeah. Was it a daily pill, or was it kind of only when you felt intense anxiety?
I had both. So it was like for intense episodes, and then also like a daily, just like mood stabilizer.
And a lot of times, something I've seen in working with clients who are anxious or have a lot of anxiety is feelings of kind of depression. Is that something you've ever dealt with?
A little bit. Like, I don't know if I was like fully fledged depressed, but like everything kind of got harder. I feel like some of those feelings are coming up a little bit right now too. Like, whereas like I don't want to do anything, and having kind of like immense guilt on me, and like not being able to sleep, like all of those kind of fit with depression. But I feel like it's different because it was on a much like smaller scale before, and like here I just feel like it's so overwhelming, and I didn't have them until after this happened.
Sure. So and that's very normal. But what I've heard, and something you mentioned a few minutes ago, was almost feeling the guilt for living, on top of the fact that you have terrible anxiety surrounding this incident, that you'd had it prior, loss of enjoyment in prior activities. So have you ever had thoughts of harming yourself?
No. I, especially after this, like I have no desire to ever harm myself. Like after seeing what happens to the people that, even though he didn't do it to himself, like how it impacts the people around you, and just like the devastation that they feel, I could never imagine like doing that to someone else.
Okay, that's heartening to hear, for sure. And I know you said you can sometimes get angry. Have you ever had the urge to harm others?
No, I think I just like get verbally like intense. Like it just gets louder. I feel like people can't hear me, so I just respond by like yelling. But I've never wanted to like hurt someone.
Definitely. All right. Well, again, I know that we're kind of coming up to time here, but I totally commend you for coming in today. I know that your parents kind of pushed you towards it, but I think that us talking through it and us kind of helping you become comfortable with feeling uncomfortable about these memories, I think that will help you just in your daily life, but also as we kind of look forward to the trial that's coming up. So I appreciate you being so open today. A little bit just to kind of summarize what I heard is you were in this relationship for 8 years with Mike. You'd recently gotten engaged, starting to look at houses and things like that, and then this incident occurred where you were walking and he was shot kind of out of nowhere. I know you have some guilt associated with that that we'll kind of have to dive into a little bit deeper. And just since the incident, kind of difficulty coping, loss of interest in the things that used to really make you feel fulfilled, maybe some issues with relationships with the people around you, just based on some of the things that they, are prying a little bit, want to know more details about the incident, things that you don't really feel like talking about.
Yeah.
So again, I appreciate you really diving into all of that with me today. And I think I know you set some goals, reduce your anxiety, find activities that make you feel better and not always feel so anxious and stressed. So what we can do is set up our next appointment. I would love to see you weekly. And we can kind of, like I said, dive into these issues a little bit more and start to work on it.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Lauren.
you.